Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be talking about the order flow settings. Now there are so many settings you can alter that I think that the best way to do it would be divide this video into two parts. In the first part I'll show you the most important settings which you want to remember, where to find them and how to change them. And then the second part of this video will be the less important settings, mostly just settings of color and text fonts and stuff like that. And this part you can actually skip if you don't need it. Alright, so let's go first into the important settings. So you right click the chart, go to indicators. This is the TD order flow. Those are all the settings of the software. So let's start with the most important settings. This one is a license token. This is a unique token for your computer and it is generated just for your computer. So every token is unique. So in order for the software to work, you need to insert your token in here. All right. So that's the thing you need to do in order to make this software run. Then the next important thing is this one, the cell text. You can choose whether the cells of the order flow will show you bit ask or delta or volumes or diagonal delta. And you can also find this setting in here because it's very important. So I placed it also in here so you can access it fast right from the chart. All right. So if we change this, for example, into volumes, then it will show just the volumes. All right. Now it will show the delta. All right. So let me go back to the standard default setting, which is the bit and ask. Now, another important thing I want to show you is content above bar and content below bar. As a default, there is no content above the bar, but there's a content below the bar. Those are those numbers below the bars, below the footprints. You can choose what those numbers will show, either delta, min and max delta, or volumes. What I prefer to use is that those numbers show delta, and I don't use the content above bar. But you can use it, for example, if you want the volumes in the footprint show above the bar, then it will look like this. Alright, those are the volumes created in the footprint. But you can also see the volumes in here at the bottom. You can see that it is the same number as in here. Alright, so that's the content above and below bar. Now the next very important thing is the contract size. Default settings is 1, and this is best if you trade futures. Now, if you are trading Forex, then it would give you some pretty crazy numbers if you used contract size 1, because there are so many volumes traded on Forex. So let me close this and let me demonstrate. All right, let's go into euro dollar. First thing I need to do is change the tick size. I'll talk about it later, but I need to change it to Forex no Japanese pairs, and then I'll go into the euro dollar. And because there is no data on bid and ask on Forex, you need to use volume settings. All right. Now, let me zoom it in a bit. You can see that those volumes are very crazy, right? Now, let me just disable one thing, which makes it a bit messy. It is the imbalance clusters. I'll talk about those later. So this is what I wanted to show you. This is Forex. You can see that those numbers are pretty crazy, and if you zoom it out, it's just too messy. All right, so you go to indicators and you want to change the contract size. That's what I wanted to show you initially. And with that, with the contract size, you can get rid of all those nulls. All right, so let's type 5 nulls, so it's 100,000. Okay, now it's much easier to read those crazy big numbers are no longer there, and the forex is easy to read, easy to analyze. All right, now of course you don't want to use those delta numbers for forex, because as I said, the data feed for forex only gives you volumes, not bid and ask. All right, so those are not really giving you any information when you are trading forex. You can disable them, or you can actually use a template for forex, which I'm going to create for you. So anyways, let's go back into the previous setting. Let's go into the Euro futures. Now let me change the setting back real quick. Alright, so this is futures again. Maybe we can change back to the bid and ask display. Now let's go to the indicators. So we went through the contract size. Remember, this is only useful for forex, or if you are getting crazy big numbers on the bid and ask. Now the next important thing is the ladder type. What I prefer to use is the bar type, but you can also use the candle type, and it looks like this. Some people prefer that because they can see the candles better this way, but I don't really like this, and the reason is that this gets rid of the graduated color, and the graduated color tells you the volumes are the heaviest. Alright, it points you to heavy volume clusters. You know what? Let me demonstrate what I mean by that. Let's switch back to the bar ladder type, and it's probably better visible on the volumes. So the heavier the volumes, the darker the background in here or in here, also for example in here. And this makes the heaviest volumes easier to identify. Now if I go back to the candle ladder type, you can't really identify the heavy volumes unless you read every single number, which you obviously don't. That would be crazy. I wanted the order flow to work as a visual tool, not as a matrix you need to read until your eyes start bleeding. All right, so that's why I prefer to have the colors, to have the bar ladder type. Now another thing I already talked about, that's the tick size. If you are trading futures, you switch to futures. And if you are trading forex, but you are trading pairs which are no related to Japanese yen, you go to forex no Japanese pairs. So this could be, for example, New Zealand dollar, US dollar, New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar, Euro dollar, British pound dollar, dollar pound, all those pairs where there is no Japanese yen. But if you are trading forex pairs which are related to Japanese yen, so let's say British pound Japanese yen, Euro Japanese yen, Australian dollar Japanese yen, you need to switch to this. Alright, otherwise the charts will look pretty crazy. So now we are on futures, so I'll switch it to futures again. Now you don't really need to make those changes every time. What I suggest is you create a workspace for futures and separate workspace for forex. That will make it really easy for you. So let's move forward. Next thing is the summary content. That's another important thing. I talked about that in the previous video. Basically, you can choose in here what will show in this summary below. You can also find it in here. If you access it this way, it's a bit quicker. So that's the cell content. As you can see, I'm not really using many of those. I'm only using the delta and the volumes. This is the delta. Those are the volumes. Now the next thing, this is a pretty cool thing, is a trade filter. minimal trade size. Let me show you what it does, alright? It will show you only trades which have bigger volumes than the number you type in here. So if I type 10, then the order flow will show only the trades which were bigger than 10 contracts. This is how it looks like. As you can see, it can filter out the smaller trades and it will only show you the big trades. Now for every market, this number you want to set in here is a bit different. So for Euro futures, you can use 10 or 15. If you use 15, there'll be less highlighted cells, but different pairs or different trading instruments will have a bit different average volumes, so you'll need to adjust to the trading instrument that you want to trade. Now there's a pretty cool strategy you can follow using this filter. I'm going to talk more about this strategy later when I'll be talking about the overflow strategies. Right now I just wanted to show you what the filter does. It filters out the low volume trades. Right, so let me change it back to 0. Now everything will show again. Every trade which got traded on the 6E will show. And let me now show you another important thing, which is the unfinished business. I already talked about that in a previous video. This is where you can turn it on or off. The unfinished business is drawing those lines. Lines where the unfinished business occurred. For example, in here. All right, this is unfinished business. 64 at bid and 7 at ask. This is unfinished business, and that's why the line is here until this price level gets tested, until this place. All right. So that's the unfinished business. You can build your strategies around the unfinished business. So I think this is a pretty important setting, and you should be aware of where to find it and how to use it. Now, another thing you want to be using is the volume imbalance. It's a pretty important thing. Those are the blue numbers you can see, for example, here or in here. I talked about the imbalance in a previous video, so you may want to check it out again if you forgot what it was. There are some important settings in the volume imbalance. It is this imbalance trigger in %, which means that the imbalance will be displayed only if it's 300% or more bigger than the number in here. So you compare 0 to 38, you compare 9 to 36. So in this case, 36 needs to be 3 times bigger than 9 in order to be highlighted in the blue. All right, and this is where you can change the percentage. For the futures in Euro, I prefer to use it somewhere around 250 to 300. It will be a bit different for every market. Now, another important thing is the imbalance cluster size. It will do this sort of highlight when there is more than 3 of those imbalances stacked together. All right, so in here there are 3, and for that reason it highlighted this area. Now, if I typed only 2, then it would highlight also the places where only 2 imbalances are stacked. All right, my mistake. I was talking about this imbalance cluster size. That's the setting I wanted to show you. All right, you can see it in here. 2 imbalances, and this price level gets highlighted. All right, in here you have 3, so all this area gets highlighted. So let's go back to the indicator settings. Let me just change it back. And the last important thing in the settings is the volume profile section, where you can toggle the volume profile, this one, on or off. All right, so now the profile won't show. And now it shows. You can also display it on the right if you want. Like this, right? So those are the most important settings. And let me now really quickly go through all the settings which are not that important, but if you want to find something and change something, I think you should know where to do that. All right, so let's just go and let's talk about every single setting we have in here. So the bar opacity, let me for example change it to 100. And if you look at the bars, you will see how they'll change. All right, the colors will be just lighter, but I prefer to use 200 because this way you'll be able to see the contrast better. All right, so I use 200. Candle width, this is just the width of the candle in here, those candles. So let me change it for example to 10. The candle will be slightly wider. All right, that's all it does. We went through cell text, content above bar. Yeah, I'm not using any content below bar. Yeah, we talked about that. Contract size, we talked about that. Delta font, this is the font of this. I don't think you really need to change that. Doji candle color, if there is a candle which opens at the same price level as where it closes, then you can change the color of it in here. I don't think you really need to change that too. Down candle color, this is the red color, you can change it. Then you can change the font of the text in a letter in here. So font of those numbers. I don't really think you need to do that. Letter type, we talked about that. Negative delta color is set for red. This is the color of the negative delta. Now this is point of control background color. The point of control are those heavy volume nodes. And this software calls them the point of control. They actually are point of control of those footprints. So point of control is highlighted this way. So there is the black outline. And you can change the width of the outline. For example, if you change it to 4, I'll press apply and have a look at how this changes, all right? It will be a bit more wider, a bit more visible, all right? So let's go back to the default setting. Next one is positive delta color. It's set to green. It is this color. You can also change it. We talked about the tick size. Up candle color, this is set for green. That's this color, color of the candle. You can change it to volume color. I don't think this does anything. Now, if we switched to volumes in here, you can change the font of the volumes, the text color, the text of those numbers, and the background. Now you can also change the color of the grid. This is the grid. I hope you can see it. The color I chose is very light. I used this white smoke color for that. We already talked about the summary content. You can change the volume cells color. That's this color of those cells. You can change the ask and bid cells color. Currently those are disabled, but if you enable them, they'll be in here in this summary section. You can also change the font, the text color of those numbers, and this color is the color of this area. I don't really think you need to change that, but you have the option. Now this bottom offset in pixels only moves the summary a little bit higher. The reason for that, if you want to use it, is the NinjaTrader logo, which sort of gets in this table, which is a bit inconvenient, and we can't get rid of that. So the only thing we can do is shift this summary a little bit higher so it doesn't go in the way of this. but you know, it doesn't really bother me too much. I can read what's written in here. I don't want the cells to go higher because it looks a bit weird. So that's for the bottom offset in pixels. Now then there is the traits filter, we talked about that. Unfinished business, yeah, we also talked about that. You can change the colors of those lines which show the unfinished business. Currently it's set for green and red. You can also change the width of those in here, or the opacity, or how they look like. A lot of settings which I don't think you will really need to change, but you have the options to do it. Now we talked about the volume imbalance. In here you can just change the color of the text of the imbalance. Currently it's set for blue, and you can also choose color of the highlight. This is the light green in here. If there is a setting imbalance, it will be in this light color, so you can change that too. Now this thing, you can choose whether you want this highlighted box to be drawn until it gets tested, or if you want it fixed like this, so it will end after, let's say, 2 hours. You can change this option. That's the box size, I believe. So if we set it for 5, it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But what I prefer is to use the until tested mode. So until the price actually touches this area, it will be highlighted. The box will be there. When the price touches it, then it won't be highlighted anymore. This is pretty important setting. You may want to use minimal imbalance volume. As you can see, the default is 0, and the whole function of this is that it won't show imbalances with low numbers. So let me switch to a bid ask. It will be better visible. Let's go to settings again. Let's say that we want to filter out the small imbalances. Let's say imbalances like this. All right, so let's say that the imbalances you want to see bigger than 25. Need to be bigger than 25. If there is somebody with 24 contracts, it doesn't show them like aggressive buyers. So let's type in 25. I'll watch this number as I hit apply, all right? Currently it's blue, it's highlighted as an imbalance, as aggressive buyer, but now it isn't, it's filtered out. All right? The whole reason for that is that the imbalance should point to aggressive buyers or aggressive sellers, but sometimes if there are low numbers on bid and ask, then some numbers will get highlighted, and it will be pretty clear that those are not aggressive buyers or aggressive sellers, but they'll get highlighted anyways because the number on bid and ask is just too low. So this is how you can filter it out. With this, you can change the font of the imbalance. So font of this number, I don't really think you need to change it, but you can do it. Then we have the volume profile part. We talked about this. Now you can display the prices on the left. So let me hit apply, and in here, those are the prices attached to the volume profile. But those are the same prices as on the right side. Those are the same. So I find it a little bit redundant to have it in here. Some people prefer to have it there as well, so that's why the option is there. But to me, it's just a bit redundant, so let me unclick it. Now, with those options, you can choose the colors of the histogram of the volume profile. Volume at ask color is this cadet blue, this nice blue color. Then the volumes at bit is this red color. And this slate gray color is color used in this column. Those are the total volumes traded throughout the whole day. They represent basically the same thing as the volume profile does, so they are also a little bit redundant, but I sort of like having them there. You can also choose the width of the profile, how wide it will be. So if you want it wider, you can set it, for example, to 200. As you can see now, it's a bit wider, but default is 100. I think that's enough. Now the rest of the settings is sort of default NinjaTrader settings. You don't really want to change anything in there. It just needs to be there, and I recommend not using or changing any of those. Alright, so that's for the settings. A lot of them, but a big chunk of it is just the visuals. But there are some pretty useful features, so you should probably know where to find them and where to change them, alright? Again, those features were in the first part of this video, so later on when you'll be trading and setting up your order flow software, you may want to get through this part again to make sure you know where to find all the important stuff, all the important settings. Alright, so that's it for this video. I hope it wasn't too boring, but I guess that you just sort of need to know where to find things, right? So I hope you found it useful, and I'll see you in the next one.